Yan Luo is right. Jiang Yan looked at Luo Feng and said seriously, Luo Feng, you're improving very quickly. In our Xian region's Dojo of Limits, you should be the one that improves the fastest. He entered my Dojo of Limits at the age of 16. Now he's 18 and his fitness level has reached the fighter realm. If you go to university and waste your energy there, wasting 4 years of your time, that would be a real waste of God's gifts. You have to know that between the ages of 16 and 30 is the fastest period of improvement. The older you are, the harder it is to improve. Jiang Yan said seriously. 4 years in university was indeed the easiest time for a martial artist to improve rapidly. Wasting these 4 years to receive cultural education in the eyes of martial artists was indeed a great sin. Luo Feng was a bit stunned. God, it seemed that failing the college entrance examination was not a bad thing after all. Luo Feng, when you officially become a fighter, how about joining my Dojo of Limits? Jiang Yan smiled. As long as you become a fighter of my Dojo of Limits, my Dojo of Limits will arrange a villa in the best area for you. Of course, you're not allowed to sell this villa. Furthermore, there's a monthly base salary of 20,000 Chinese dollars. Detached villa? 20,000 base salary? Luo Feng took in a deep breath. 20,000 yuan was nothing, but a detached villa was too extravagant. Currently, there were only 6 major human bases in the whole of Huaxia, which were the 6 major cities. Land was extremely precious and single-family villas had to pay a huge luxury tax. Nowadays, ordinary commercial houses cost tens of thousands to hundreds of thousands of yuan per square meter, which led to the majority of ordinary people living in lower-end housing. Ordinary commercial houses were already so expensive. Superimposed villas, townhouses, and super-large mansions would cost hundreds of thousands of Chinese dollars per square meter. As for single-family villas in this day and age, the country had restrictions on them. It was not something that could be lived in with money. Only those with money, power, and special status could live there. Moreover, there was also the huge luxury tax. The price of a typical detached villa was definitely more than 1,000,000 yuan per square meter. A detached villa, even if it's small, is at least 300 square meters. That's 200 to 300 million yuan. Luo Feng held his breath. Even though I'm not allowed to sell it, if my whole family lives in this villa, then I wouldn't have wasted my time in this world. 2 or 300 million, what kind of concept was that? Even Zhang Haobai's father, a rich man, probably wouldn't be able to match up to this villa. Luo Feng. The benefits of my Dojo of Limits compared to joining the country's special department. There's not much difference. Jiang Yan laughed. The martial artists in the government departments have basic salaries and living privileges. The only thing they have is a killing license, which allows them to kill ordinary people according to the situation. Of course, they don't dare to kill indiscriminately. They still have to explain to the higher-ups what happened. License to kill? Luo Feng has heard of this before. The fighters of the country's special forces indeed have the right to kill on the spot. However, our Dojo of Limits also has special privileges. If a normal person messes with you, you can report it to the dojo. After the dojo verifies it, they will use Jiangnan City's security bureau to take them away. Jiang Yan faintly smiled. Join our dojo. Money, status, everything. You can peacefully pursue the limits of humanity, the limits of martial arts. Jiang Yan pointed at Yan Luo. This little brother of mine, Yan Luo, recently killed a monster and earned nearly 100 million Earth dollars. That's about 300 million Chinese dollars. With your talent, it's not impossible for you to reach Yan Luo's level in the future if you work hard. Luo Feng was completely shocked. Heavens, he earned this much just from killing a monster? Just what level of monster did he kill? Luo Feng, work hard. Your talent is quite good, don't waste it. Jiang Yan smiled as he patted Luo Feng's shoulder. Kid, don't relax. I believe that you have the possibility of becoming a warlord-level fighter in the future. When that time comes, money, status, beauties, you'll have everything. Yan Luo slightly smiled. When that time comes, I'll be very happy to go out and hunt monsters with you. Haha. After saying that, Jiang Yan and Yan Luo laughed as they left. Luo Feng stood in the training hall, his mind in a mess. Whether it's instructor Jiang Yan, or this mysterious red-haired youth, Yan Luo, Luo Feng felt a sense of recklessness in their laughter. A sense of recklessness. Recklessness. A smile slowly appeared on Luo Feng's face. Yeah, as a man, you should wander around and make a name for yourself. The strongest fighter in the world once said that a soldier who doesn't want to be a general isn't a good soldier. If you don't want to be the strongest fighter in the world, then you don't have the heart of a fighter. What's the point of living your entire life with your hands and feet tied up? I'm going to create an earth-shattering feat. 18 years old is the age where one's values gradually become fixed. After meeting instructor Jiang Yan and the mysterious fighter Yan Luo, Luo Feng's mindset completely changed. Wander around. The strongest fighter, Hong, and the second strongest fighter, Thunder God, created the Dojo of Limits and the Thunder Dojo respectively. Even the 5 great countries have to treat them as equals. If they can do it, then can't a third person do it? Luo Feng smiled as he walked out of the training hall. A man has dreams, and if he has a dream, then he'll go for it. Youth is capital. Youth means that your future is limitless. You have to work hard and fight for everything. June 28th morning. The sky was clear. Luo Feng and Wei Wen were on their way to Xian Region's 3rd high school. Today is the day they receive their graduation certificates and application forms. Feng, are you sure you can pass the prospective fighter exam? Wei Wen couldn't help but to ask. Yeah, on July 1st I'll go to Yangzhou City's Dojo of Limits headquarters, Limit Hall to take the prospective fighter exam, smiled Luo Feng. The school was already in front of them. Luo Feng looked at the school in front of him and looked at the students in the school. He felt that his attitude had changed a bit. HM? In the past I treated myself as one of them. But now I feel like I'm from two different worlds. They go to college, work hard, get married and have kids. And my path is different from theirs. Luo Feng and Wei Wen entered the school and went to their own classes. They walked in the hallway of the school building. Senior Luo Feng, some of the other third-year students even passionately greeted Luo Feng. I heard that Luo Feng fainted in the exam room during his high school exams. What a pity, fainting in the exam room. Some people saw Luo Feng from afar and discussed in a low voice. Luo Feng's body fitness level has already reached the level of a fighter, so his hearing is extremely good. He could clearly hear the students' discussions from afar. Third year 5, this is Luo Feng's class. Luo Feng is here. Brother Luo, quite a few other students in the class have already arrived and passionately greeted him. Luo Feng smiled and nodded. Most of these old classmates have a good relationship with Luo Feng, but some of them don't like Luo Feng. On the surface they seem to be passionate, but some of them are still discussing in a low voice in the corner. Luo Feng's grades were so good in the past and he's an elite member of the dojo. Who would have thought that he would suffer such a huge setback and faint in the exam room? How unlucky. This is fate. Who can we blame? In the past, Luo Feng was the pride of the class. He was good at studying and was strong. Now that this genius has suffered such a setback, these normal students naturally felt happy. Even though they have a good relationship with Luo Feng, that's just how people are. When they see an outstanding person in the past suddenly fall, they will also feel happy and think to themselves, even you have such a day. The diplomas are being issued. And volunteer applications, everyone come get them. 3 class leaders held their graduation certificates and volunteer applications as they walked up the podium. Wang Yin, Lu Xiaolong. The class leaders called out the names one by one and handed out the graduation certificates and volunteer applications. Luo Feng. With this, the classroom instantly quieted down. Almost everyone's gaze fell on Luo Feng. Everyone knew that Luo Feng fainted during his exams. And Luo Feng's exam results weren't a secret. Some students have already checked and found out that Luo Feng's results were only 4 points away from the qualifying line. Luo Feng class leader Chu Lin handed over the graduation certificate and volunteer application to Luo Feng. Feng, let's go. Wei Wen was standing in front of the classroom. Wait for me. Luo Feng casually used some strength. Chi. He crushed the volunteer application into a ball and threw it. The crumpled application was thrown into the trash. The originally noisy classroom instantly quieted down. The entire class froze. This is the college entrance exam application. Who would dare to throw it away? A freckled girl yelled in shock. Luo Feng, why did you throw the application away? You're not going to fill in your application? Why would Luo Feng go to a specialist? He'll probably have to repeat his studies and take the exam next year. Discussions immediately arose. Wei Wen, who was standing in front of the classroom, couldn't help but to stare. Specialist? Repeat? Can you guys think of that? Luo Feng is about to take the prospective fighter exam, so why would he go to a specialist and repeat his studies? Stop talking, let's go. Luo Feng pulled Wei Wen and left with him. The students in the original class instantly became noisy. What? Prospective fighter exam? Luo Feng, he's going to take the prospective fighter exam? Seriously, he can't be that good, right? That Wei Wen is probably just bragging. Luo Feng became an elite student last year, so how could he take the prospective fighter exam this year? Subconsciously, these students didn't want to believe that Luo Feng reached the fitness level of a fighter. Fighter? That's a supernatural existence. Mom, Dad, I'm going to the Dojo of Limits in the center of the city. I probably won't be back for lunch today. Luo Feng drank a large bowl of porridge and 3 pancakes before standing up. Wait for my good news today. Once I pass the exam, I'll immediately call you guys. His mother, Gong Xen Lan, laughed as she glanced at Luo Honghua. Honghua, did you hear that? You have to bring your phone with you. Don't make it so your son can't find you. I'll definitely bring my phone, laughed Luo Honghua. Okay, I'm going out. Luo Feng winked at his brother Luo Hua. Luo Hua gave him a thumbs up and laughed. Early in the morning, Luo Feng left the southern shore sector and went along the number 11 subway line to the Zhong and Road station. After that, he switched to line 1 and arrived at the center of Yangzhou City. After leaving the subway station, he walked for another 10 minutes before arriving at the headquarters of the Dojo of Limits in Yangzhou City, Dojo of Limits. When he left home, it was only around 6 a.m. When Luo Feng arrived, it was already around 8 a.m. This is the legendary Mingyue sector? Luo Feng stood in front of the gate of a quiet sector. This sector is called Mingyue sector, and the Dojo of Limits is in this sector. Mister, this is the Mingyue sector, don't go near. At the entrance of the residential area, there were 6 soldiers dressed in military uniforms with real guns and live ammunition. Just by looking at their uniforms. These people aren't from the police system, but from the military system. One of the soldiers yelled towards Luo Feng, Mister, please step back. Once you enter the yellow line, we have the right to kill you. Just like the rumors, Luo Feng sighed to himself. Mingyue sector is the headquarters of the Dojo of Limits in Yangzhou City. Not only is the Dojo of Limits here, but it's also the place where the families of the fighters under the Dojo of Limits live. Rumor has it that the people who live here are all warriors and their families. Even the police don't have the right to barge in. Luo Feng sighed to himself. Everyone. Luo Feng stood at the entrance of the sector and said, I am an elite member of the Dojo of Limits, Luo Feng. I'm here to take the prospective fighter exam. The Dojo of Limits holds the prospective fighter exam on the 1st of every month. Oh. A white-haired old man walked out of the guard lounge next to the district. He was holding a palm-top computer in his hand. Young man, you're quite early. It's not even 8 o'clock and you're already here. To be able to take the prospective martial artist examination at such a young age, his future was limitless. Let me check your ID and advanced student ID. Luo Feng handed over his ID and student ID. Do. He swiped his ID card and advanced student ID on the PDA, and a series of messages appeared on the PDA screen. 18. The white-haired old man looked at Luo Feng in shock and laughed. 18 years old and you dare to take the prospective fighter exam. Not bad, I hope you can pass today. Thank you, sir. Luo Feng said. Let him in. The white-haired elder waved his hand. At the same time, a soldier armed with an assault rifle took a step forward and followed beside Luo Feng. Sir, I will take you to the limit hall. Sir, please don't run around after entering the district. You only have the authority to enter the limit hall. You can't enter the fighter's family quarters. If you break the rules, even if I don't do anything, the patrolling brothers will, said the soldier as he smiled towards Luo Feng. Definitely. Luo Feng smiled as he nodded. The country and the Dojo of Limits indeed have a cooperative relationship. At least in the core area of the Dojo of Limits, it's heavily protected. Every single one of them is a villa. Luo Feng looked around. Other than the towering limit hall in the middle of the district, there were other villas. Elsewhere, there were detached villas arranged in picturesque disorder. In between the villas, there were rockery, ponds and grasslands. Mingyue district inside the limit hall. When Luo Feng stepped into the lobby of the limit hall, the soldier left. Sir, are you here to take the prospective fighter exam? In the lobby of the limit hall, a sweet-looking girl smiled. Sir, please sit over there. At 10 a.m., you'll take the prospective fighter exam with everyone else. Luo Feng nodded and walked towards the side of the lobby of the limit hall. There was a small bar here with a waiter and a bartender. Luo Feng glanced around. There were already 3 people sitting in this small bar. 2 of them were chatting while the other person was sitting silently on the other sofa. Look, those villas over there are the benefits of joining the Dojo of Limits, said a youth in a white shirt and white pants excitedly. As long as you become a fighter and join the Dojo of Limits, you'll be given a villa for free. And you'll be able to live here in the future. Look at this environment, how comfortable. Of course, the fighter sector is different from the regular sectors. Look, new people are here. These 3 people also saw Luo Feng. Luo Feng slightly nodded towards them and sat on the sofa on the side. They didn't know each other, so they didn't talk. As time passed, 3 more people came. Luo Feng also didn't know these 3 people, but it seemed like these 3 people were quite old, probably over 30 years old. Some of them were even over 40 years old. Ha, Luo Feng, a loud voice rang. Luo Feng was shocked. He turned his head and saw a skinny man with a hideous scar on his face walk over. You also came to take the prospective fighter exam? Brother Yang? Luo Feng stood up to greet him. It's quite embarrassing to talk about it. I came here to take the exam last month. Sadly, when I tested my speed, I only reached 24.9 meters per second. I was so close I didn't pass. Yang Wu said helplessly. Actually, Yang Wu already passed the exam in terms of fist strength and reaction speed, but speed is his weakness. However, Yang Wu's speed has been improving since this year. 24.9 meters per second and 25 meters per second aren't that much of a difference. If he's in a good state, his result might be 25 meters per second. I believe Brother Yang will definitely pass this time, laughed Luo Feng. This guy named Yang has taken the exam a few times already and never passed. From what I see, he'll be in trouble this time. A loud voice came from the side. Luo Feng looked over. The one who spoke was a muscular man with a full beard. Yang Wu immediately glared. Tong, you're still talking about me? Didn't you also take the exam twice and fail? From what I see with your reaction speed, you'll probably need another 2 to 3 years of training. Quiet down, a cold voice came from the middle of the lobby. Immediately, the 8 people present turned their heads and saw a middle-aged man wearing a loose dojo uniform glance over. Let's go, all of you follow me upstairs to take the prospective fighter exam. Remember, behave yourself when you go upstairs. Today our Yangzhou City's chief instructor's old friend is here, so don't cause trouble. Yes. Whether it was the arrogant full beard, Yang Wu or Luo Feng, everyone respectfully replied. Chief instructor's old friend? Luo Feng couldn't help but to guess. Keep in mind that Yangzhou City has 1 Dojo of Limits and 12 Dojos of Limits. The heads of each district's Dojo of Limits are called instructors. And the head of the Dojo of Limits is called chief instructor. After entering the elevator, the middle-aged man wearing the loose dojo pressed 6. Beep. The elevator arrived at the 6th floor. When the elevator door opened, a gigantic training hall appeared in front of them. There were around a dozen people gathered in the hall, and one of them was the instructor, Jiang Yan, that Luo Feng knew. They're here, stop chatting, said a middle-aged man with long hair. A middle-aged man with long hair said. The dozen or so people in the training hall all turned their heads towards Luo Feng's group of 8. Luo Feng's group of 8 felt their hearts tighten as they faced the gazes of these people. They knew that the people that usually appear in the Dojo of Limits besides the service staff are fighters. In other words, these dozen or so people are all fighters. After all, this is the headquarters of the Dojo of Limits in Yangzhou City. Prepare for the exam, commanded the middle-aged man with long hair. Luo Feng has seen this middle-aged man with long hair on the internet. This person is the head of the Dojo of Limits, Yangzhou City's chief instructor, Wu Tong. Come here one by one and give me your identification cards. The fighter who led Luo Feng's group of 8 took their identification cards and gave them to chief instructor, Wu Tong as he laughed. Head, there's quite a few people today. There's 8 of them. Okay, Wu Tong randomly took out an identification card and slid it across the machine on the side. Beep. A transparent screen popped out of the machine, and a large amount of personal information appeared on the screen. First, Tong Guan, said the chief instructor indifferently, begin the fist strength test. Even people from the military like you come to the Dojo of Limits to take the exam. Interesting. Luo Feng couldn't help but to let out a smile as he heard this. The Dojo of Limits was created by the world's strongest fighter. The exams of the Dojo of Limits have credibility and are highly valued. Once the exam results are taken out, they will be recognized by every country and region in the world. Even people from the military or those who train with family traditions like to take the exam at the Dojo of Limits. Test your fist strength, commanded the chief instructor. The full-bearded man immediately took a step forward. His eyes widened and his left hand blocked in front of his face. His right fist drew an arc in the air and smashed onto the gigantic fist strength test machine. The fist strength test machine only slightly shook. A number immediately appeared on the screen of the fist strength test machine, 986 kilograms. Pass next Luo Feng. The chief instructor casually slid the second identification card across the machine and looked at the detailed information. He couldn't help but to be surprised. I'm 18 years old? Old Jiang, this is from your Xian region, right? When did such a talented kid appear? Ha, instructor, Jiang Yan on the side couldn't help but to laugh proudly. It's hard to say whether or not he has the strength. Among the dozen fighters on the side, a fat old man laughed. Maybe he's here to see the world and doesn't have any strength. Instructor Jiang Yan glanced at him. What, jealous? Your northern post district doesn't have a genius like this, right? Luo Feng, show them the strength of our Xian region students. Yes, instructor. Luo Feng stepped forward and replied loudly, and then walked towards the fist strength test machine. Old Jiang seems to be very confident. Chief instructor, Wu Tong, smiled, but his gaze was still on Luo Feng. Almost everyone was looking at Luo Feng, waiting for his exam results. Luo Feng stood in front of the target. He abruptly exerted strength in his legs and slightly turned his body. His waist and hips released a powerful force that instantly passed through his arms. Luo Feng's fist was like an arrow shot from a bow. With a ping sound, his fist smashed into the target with a ping sound. After throwing a punch, Luo Feng's eyes had a bit of joy in them. Throwing a punch feels so good, all the energy is being released as he looked at the display, 1,101 kilograms. All right. Not bad. Immediately, many of the warriors present immediately praised. Chief instructor Wu Tong rubbed his chin and nodded. Not bad, young man. Remember not to lose your center of gravity when you punch. If he disregards everything and only throws the heaviest punch, he will lose his center of gravity. Perhaps this punch was even more powerful. But if he did that, he would lose his center of gravity while fighting with a monster, and that was suicide. Not bad, not bad. Haha, this little punk Luo Feng, his battle ability is very strong. Instructor Jiang Yan laughed heartily. He once defeated 3 advanced students whose strength and speed were not inferior to his. What a clean and efficient fight. Hearing the chief instructor and the instructor's compliments, Luo Feng felt a wave of joy in his heart. When he was young, he had fainted twice and his physical strength and speed had greatly increased. Since then, he had made up his mind to become a powerful martial artist. As for powerful martial artists, the requirement for actual combat ability was very high. When he was young, although he didn't join the Dojo of Limits, he searched the internet for some basic blade techniques and movement techniques. He practiced alone at home and slowly accumulated experience. This was also the reason why he was strong in actual combat. He's a good seedling. Pass. Chief instructor Wu Tong took out another ID card and slid it across the machine. Next by Yang. Luo Feng walked back to where the examinees were. Not bad, madman. Yang Wu laughed in a low voice. Luo Feng smiled. The 8 of them quickly finished the fist strength test. Only one of them was unlucky. His fist only had a force of 892 kilograms, which was just a little short of the passing mark, so he was eliminated. There were only 7 people left for the speed test in the next round. Click. Chief instructor Wu Tong came to the speed tester and turned on the switch. One by one in reverse order. First, Yang Wu. Chief instructor Wu Tong instructed. Previously, Yang Wu was the last one to test his fist strength, but this time he was the first one to test his speed. Yang Wu took a deep breath. He had come here for the prospective martial artist assessment almost 10 times, and every time he failed in the speed test. Brother Yang, do your best. Luo Feng lightly patted Yang Wu's shoulder. Let's watch. Yang Wu adjusted his breathing and walked onto the track. Instructor Jiang Yan frowned at this scene. Yang Wu was also from the Xian district, but he had already failed the speed test many times. Boom. Yang Wu stomped on the ground, producing a deep sound. He swung his arms forcefully and stomped on the ground, causing Yang Wu's speed to quickly reach his limit. His expression was ferocious, and the veins on his forehead bulged as he clenched his teeth and madly ran. When he ran past the speed testing area, he even let out a suppressed roar. I have to pass. When Yang Wu stopped, he roared in his heart. He nervously turned his head and saw that Luo Feng was giving him a thumbs up. Seeing this, Yang Wu felt like he was in heaven. Ha, Yang Wu, your luck isn't bad. You actually passed. Instructor Jiang Yan also let out a hearty laugh. Yang Wu ran over and looked at the display. 25.1 milliseconds. Phew, that was close. Yang Wu laughed to himself. If his condition was slightly worse, his speed wouldn't have reached 25 meters per second and he would have failed again. Yeah, passed. Chief Instructor Wu Tong also let out a smile. Next. The members went through the test one by one. Last time, Luo Feng was the second one to test his fist strength. And this time, Luo Feng was the second person to test his speed. Soon enough, he reached Luo Feng. Luo Feng yelled, Chief Instructor Wu Tong. Crazy, do your best. We're going to take the fighter combat exam together, Yang Wu encouraged. Said Yang Wu encouragingly. Luo Feng smiled and nodded as he walked onto the track. He slightly adjusted his breathing and lightly jumped twice on the spot. Unlike Yang Wu's pure brute force style, Luo Feng's style made people feel relaxed. Whoosh. As soon as he exerted his strength, Luo Feng was like a leopard. His speed was incomparably fast, and he brought a gust of wind with him as he passed through the speed testing area. You could see with the naked eye that Luo Feng's speed was clearly higher than the others before him. Feels alright. Luo Feng turned his head and saw Yang Wu also giving him a thumbs up. Even Chief Instructor Wu Tong and Instructor Jiang Yan nodded their heads in admiration. Luo Feng walked over and looked at the display. 28.6 milliseconds. Your speed isn't bad, it's so much higher than the passing mark. Chief Instructor Wu Tong smiled as he nodded. Last one, Tongguan. After the fist strength and speed tests, one person was eliminated for the fist strength test and 2 people were eliminated for the speed test. Only 5 people were left. The third test was the reaction speed test. Follow me. Chief Instructor Wu Tong led a group of fighters and the remaining 5 people to the reaction speed test room that was connected to the training hall. This was a spacious room that was around 100 square meters. Of course, compared to the gigantic training hall that was thousands of square meters, this reaction speed test room was clearly much smaller. A large and expensive machine was placed on the ground. At the very front of the machine, there were holes that looked like a 6-barreled Gatling gun. However, there were way more holes than Gatling guns. There were at least a few dozen of them. First one, Tongguan, Chief Instructor Wu Tong said. The full-bearded man immediately walked to the front of the machine gun and entered a circle with a diameter of 3.6 meters. Click. The switch was turned on. The edge of the 3.6-meter circle immediately emitted a blurry red light. In an instant, the examinees inside the circle seemed to be surrounded by a blurry red curtain. Remember, no matter what, you cannot leave the circle. Once you do, you fail. If your body touches the red light, points will be deducted. After Chief Instructor Wu Tong finished speaking, he walked to the reaction speed test machine and pressed a few buttons to adjust the intensity of the test. There were many different levels of intensity. The lowest level was the intermediate student test. As for the highest level, those were the tests and training conducted by the top experts among the martial artists. Begin. Chief Instructor pressed the red button. Do. The reaction speed test machine's huge cannon began to rotate. The dozens of muzzles in the cannon almost instantaneously emitted rays of red light. Some were fast, some were slow. Even the trajectories were not parallel. It was very messy. They quickly entered the range of the red circle. The full-bearded man's eyes were fixed in front of him. His body rapidly flashed left and right, passing through the gaps between the red bullets. Pull. He was shot twice in a row. However, these bullets were rubber bullets. They were very weak and their speed was not fast. Hitting a person's body was not painful. Time passed by minute. The full-bearded man desperately dodged and dodged. Soon 1 minute had passed. Woo! After Chief Instructor Wu Tong pressed the button, the machine gun quickly slowed down and stopped rotating. A large amount of data appeared on the central screen. Within 60 seconds, you have been hit 57 times and touched the red light 3 times. If you don't pass, you're eliminated. Chief Instructor Wu Tong said as he threw his identification card to the bearded man. Just a little bit more. The full-bearded man clenched his teeth, shook his head and walked out of the red circle. Next, Luo Feng, Chief Instructor Wu Tong said. Luo Feng and Yang Wu punched each other once and then walked into the red circle. Luo Feng took a deep breath as he stood in the red circle. Before he entered the dojo, he often practiced his agility at home. Dodging has always been his forte. Before high school exams, I would usually be hit 50 to 55 times in 60 seconds. But now that my fitness level has increased and my reaction speed is even faster, passing the test is even easier. Remember, do not walk out of the circle. If you do, you will immediately fail. You will lose points if your body touches the red light. After Chief Instructor Wu Tong finished speaking, he pressed the red button. Do. The reaction speed test machine's cannon sped up and quickly rotated to an extremely fast speed. After that, the dozens of muzzles in the cannon instantly emitted rays of red light and rubber bullets shot towards him. LuoFeng's eyes were glued to the gun as he swiftly calculated his position in his head. His entire body was like an agile cat as he continuously dodged left and right, dodging the rubber bullets one after another. Of course, some of the bullets were too fast and couldn't be dodged, so they could only take a shot. As Luo Feng swiftly dodged, the fighters watching from the side began to discuss. This kid is not bad. His reaction speed seems to be even better. He's really fast. His technique is really good and his foundation is solid. Look, his feet are like the pads of a cat's paws. Every time he moves, he doesn't lose his center of gravity and can instantly change directions. This technique. If he's not a genius, he wouldn't be able to reach such a solid foundation without at least 10 years of hard work. The spectating fighters all gasped in shock. A fighter's fitness level can be improved through training. But movement techniques, saber techniques and so on all relied on experience. Just because your body is strong doesn't mean your technique is good. WOO. After pressing the button, the reaction speed test machine's rotation slowed down and a large string of numbers appeared on the screen. Within 60 seconds, hit 28 times, did not touch the red light. Excellent. Chief Instructor Wu Tong let out a smile. Not bad, Luo Feng, congratulations. Once the official document is issued and your information is recorded in your citizen's information, you will be a prospective fighter. After passing the exam, an official document will be issued and recorded in your citizen's information. After passing the exam, an official document will be issued and recorded in your citizen's information within 7 days. Luo Feng clenched his right fist. I finally did it. I finally became a prospective fighter. Luo Feng, August 1st is the day of the fighter combat exam. When the time comes, gather at the limit hall in the morning. Under the instructor's lead, you will go hunt monsters outside of the human headquarter cities with other prospective fighters. After passing the exam, you will be a true fighter. Instructor Jiang Yan smiled as he said. Okay, Luo Feng nodded excitedly. Chief Instructor Wu Tong laughed as he stood beside the reaction speed tester machine. Okay, next by Yang. Luo Feng walked to Yang Wu's side. Yang Wu's face was filled with joy as he said quietly, crazy, congratulations. You're now a prospective fighter. As long as you pass the fighter combat exam, you'll be a fighter. Luo Feng also said quietly, Brother Yang, you definitely won't have a problem passing the reaction speed test. When the time comes, we'll take the combat exam together. Okay, Yang Wu was also looking forward to it. After that, Luo Feng and Yang Wu focused on the people taking the exam. Soon enough, 2 people took the exam. One passed and one failed. Last one, Yang Wu, yelled Chief Instructor Wu Tong. Yang Wu took in a deep breath. He's been waiting for this day for far too long, and he's always been stuck in the speed test. Now he finally has the right to take the reaction speed test in the limit hall. Good luck, yelled Luo Feng encouragingly. Relax. Yang Wu strode directly into the red circle. As Chief Instructor Wu Tong pressed the start button, the muzzle of the nerve reaction testing machine immediately began to rotate. Very quickly, it reached an extremely fast rotation speed. Inside the muzzle, dozens of muzzles instantly shot out rubber bullets, covering the red circle. Yang Wu swiftly moved within 1 step of the front, back, left, right and back. It was very simple. Luo Feng watched Brother Yang's dodging technique and was secretly shocked. Brother Yang's technique seems a bit stiff. He's not as agile as me, but Brother Yang's technique seems to be very efficient. Every time he dodges, he doesn't use the 3.6 meter diameter of the red circle. He only moves within 1 step of the front, back, left, right and back. Yang Wu's movement range is small, but his dodging efficiency is very high. This technique is indeed very useful in battle. However, it requires precise control of the battle. Or else, the monster's claws can rip apart the fighter's body. Luo Feng thought to himself. At least to Luo Feng, this technique is very efficient, but it's also very dangerous. It's like dancing on a knife's edge. Roar. A minute quickly passed and the reaction speed tester machine's cannon stopped rotating. 60 seconds, hit 52 times, didn't touch the red light, passed. Chief Instructor Wu Tong said. Within the red circle, Yang Wu was so excited that he clenched his fists tightly. Blue veins popped out on his arms and tears appeared in his eyes. He had waited for this day for far too long. Finally, he realized his dream. He was only 1 step away from the legendary martial artist title. Yang Wu. Chief Instructor Wu Tong frowned and yelled, your dodging technique belongs to the minute subtlety level dodging technique. While they were fighting against monsters by moving their bodies slightly, the monster's attacks would brush past them and not injure them. Because the range of movement of the body is small, naturally, in the same amount of time he can make more dodges, which is extremely efficient. But this body movement technique is incredibly difficult. If you make the slightest mistake, the monster's claws will be 2 centimeters away from your body according to your calculations, and it won't be able to hurt you. But if there was a mistake, the monster's claws might cut through your body. I'll cut you open. When they fought against monsters, if they made a mistake, they might lose their lives. So, let me give you a piece of advice. In the future, when you fight against monsters, try to dodge as far away as possible. Give yourself some leeway, Chief Instructor Wu Tong said seriously. With your current strength, it's best if you train your basic body movement technique well. The results will be better. Yang Wu was shocked, but then he nodded seriously. Yes, Chief Instructor. Yang Wu, you have to remember Chief Instructor's words. On the path of martial arts, don't be greedy. The minute subtlety level technique is powerful. But if you don't have the strength to use it and force it, you'll just make a fool of yourself and become a laughingstock. Instructor Jiang Yan said seriously. Chief Instructor Wu Tong laughed. Okay, a total of 3 people passed the prospective fighter exam. They are Luo Feng, Bai Yang and Yang Wu. Luo Feng, Yang Wu and Bai Yang's eyes were filled with suppressed joy. If it weren't for the group of senior fighters around them, they would have already started yelling in excitement. Everyone, you'll have to help out with the following matters, such as signing the combat exam contract. As he said that, Chief Instructor Wu Tong looked at the silver-haired black-robed man standing on the side and laughed. Captain, sorry for making you wait so long. Come, let's go out. Captain. Luo Feng and the other two were shocked. The Chief Instructor is the leader of the Dojo of Limits in Yangzhou City. His position is extremely high. If he calls him Captain, then who is this silver-haired black-robed man? The silver-haired black-robed man glanced at Luo Feng and the other two. For a moment, Luo Feng felt like this silver-haired black-robed man's eyes were like a boundless starry sky. Luo Feng was instantly sucked into them, but after that, Luo Feng woke up. What's going on? Luo Feng suddenly realized that Yang Wu and Bai Yang's expressions became sluggish. How scary, just one look and we're all sluggish. Luo Feng was shocked. The strength is too scary. For example, when two people fight, one look from the opponent can make you lose consciousness. When you wake up, your opponent's knife will probably pierce through your heart. The silver-haired black-robed man slightly smiled and looked at Luo Feng with surprise. Kid, not bad talent, work hard. The silver-haired black-robed man smiled at Luo Feng. Oh, your willpower isn't bad either, hehe. Chief Instructor Wu Tong nodded in satisfaction. After that, Chief Instructor Wu Tong and the silver-haired black-robed man left. What just happened? What happened to me? Only now did Yang Wu and Bai Yang wake up. The two of them looked at each other and remembered what just happened. They couldn't help but to break out in cold sweat. No matter if it's Yang Wu, Bai Yang or Luo Feng. That silver-haired black-robed man is indeed the scariest person they've ever met. This silver-haired black-robed man has been watching us test the entire time. However, from the beginning until now, I didn't even notice his existence. Luo Feng was shocked. He didn't make a sound as if he didn't exist. Too unbelievable. No. While Luo Feng was trying his best to remember what the silver-haired black-robed man looked like, he shockingly realized. He only remembered that pair of eyes that made people sink in, but he couldn't remember what that person looked like. You three come here. Instructor Jiang Yan and a group of fighters laughed as they looked at the three of them. Come to the training hall. From the reaction speed testing room, they entered the spacious training hall. These are 3 fighter combat exam application contracts. A fat old man took out 3 contracts from the corner of the training hall. Once you participate in the fighter combat exam, if you get killed by a monster during the process, it has nothing to do with our Dojo of Limits. Of course, the death rate of the fighter combat exam is very low. Luo Feng, Yang Wu and Bai Yang all took the contracts and flipped through the contents. The death rate is low, but the disability rate isn't, said a bald brute in a low voice. The fighter combat exam is a life and death battle with monsters. Of course, this is the most basic battle. When you actually go to the dangerous areas to hunt monsters, the dangers will be much more terrifying than this fighter combat exam. If you can't even pass this test, then you don't have the right to be a fighter. Luo Feng, Yang Wu and Bai Yang looked at each other. The contract was very simple. The main point was that the Dojo of Limits won't be responsible for any injuries or deaths during the combat exam. The three of them didn't hesitate and directly took the pens on the side to sign their names. Okay. Instructor Jiang Yan smiled on the side. Alright, today is July 1st, so there's still 1 month until the combat exam. You have to prepare well in this 1 month. Oh right. As he said that, Instructor Jiang Yan walked to the keyboard on the side and swiftly pressed a few buttons. Soon enough, a huge transparent screen appeared on the wall of the training hall and an article appeared on the screen. It was called Luo Feng couldn't help but to hold his breath. The reason why fighters' bodies are so powerful is that some of the top fighters can even surpass the speed of sound. One slash can cut through a steel plate a few meters thick. Of course, Luo Feng and the others are still far from the strength of the legendary fighters. Why are fighters so powerful? They rely on genetic energy. Back then, during the Grand Nirvana period, when humans are infected with the RR virus, they produce antibodies. This causes the body's genes to naturally change and optimize. Instructor Jiang Yan smiled. When the genes are optimized to a certain degree, they can absorb the energy of the universe and integrate it into every cell in the body. During this process, the bones, cells, blood, organs, skin, etc. will continuously evolve and improve. Your bones can become 10 to 100 times harder than diamond, and your organs can become so strong that you can hold your breath underwater for half an hour or even longer. All of this depends on you absorbing the energy of the universe and integrating it into every cell, making it your own energy, which is also genetic energy. Instructor Jiang Yan pointed at the article on the screen. This is the training method for genetic energy, 5 hearts towards the sky. It's also the only way to train genetic energy on Earth. Luo Feng immediately read the article in detail. Genetic energy, humanity's ability to optimize their genes and evolve. So that's how it is, Luo Feng understood after reading it carefully. Normal people can't train it because their genes aren't optimized enough. Normally, they can reach a fist strength of 900 kilograms, speed of 25 meters per second, and reaction speed of prospective fighters. When they reach this level, their genes are optimized enough to pass. 90% of potential martial artists would be able to start cultivating their genetic energy. You can start training genetic energy this month. Instructor Jiang Yan smiled. Instructor Jiang Yan smiled. As for the most precious Daoyin technique, you can only obtain it when you become a fighter and join the Dojo of Limits or the army. There's only one way to train genetic energy in the world. But there are tens of millions of Daoyin techniques in the world. Training different Daoyin techniques can cause a huge difference in the speed of training genetic energy, even a difference of tens of times. Daoyin techniques are the most valuable of all. Thank you for watching the video. If you enjoyed it, please subscribe and turn on the notifications so you won't miss any of our upcoming great videos.